Alright, I hadn't done a video in a while because I've been in thrash mode trying to get this thing ready to go. I got it drivable Saturday night and took it out to the mountain, our local off-road park, Sunday. I measured the rear drive shaft wrong and with the way this thing sits in here, which on a one link, when it travels up it gets shorter. Just not be able to see it. And anyway, I measured the rear drive shaft wrong and it was too long. So when I put it in there, when it would articulate, push this side up, being a Rockwell axle, the pinion is offset to one side, it would push down on the transmission cross member and ended up busting the transmission mount. And drive shaft started rubbing the one link cross member. So it wasn't that big a deal. It was rubbing the yoke. I wasn't too worried about it. It was, of course, I mean, it was vibrating in the car, but I ran a couple trails and the car worked really well. Even for being open front and rear, I haven't locked it yet. Just run out of time. So tonight I just built this little winch bumper, welded it into the frame there, in the frame there, and then where I tied the frame back together, put a fish plate, and then put me a bar from there up on both sides. So all that's tied in, and actually the winch sits way up underneath the front of the car. When I did take it out, the carburetor was acting up. It wouldn't idle on flat ground, and it wouldn't idle going downhill, but it would idle just fine going uphill. So I climbed a few trails, nothing major, just to kind of get a feel for it, make sure the motor was going to run good and everything, didn't overheat or anything like that. I don't know if I had showed clutch master cylinder. I had actually ordered a 8695 5-liter Mustang clutch. Well, I'm using a Granny 4-speed with the old Granny 4-speed bell housing, and the older stuff takes a 164 tooth flywheel versus a 157. So I had issues with the starter not hooking up right. So ordered a 164 tooth 50 ounce balance flywheel. 3 of the bolt holes out of the 6 on the clutch worked, so I just drilled and tapped the other 3. Finally got all my lug nuts and everything on, all my caps. I did have a friend of mine make me some badges that I'm gonna put on my wheels. I got one for one for each side. So got that. Show you my shifter or shifters. There's the transfer case shifter. Kind of hard to see. And that is my granny stick shifter. Bolts to the floor. And that rod runs up underneath there and hooks up to the transmission. There's a little clutch pedal there. And then out back here, I just welded this 3x4 rectangle tubing on, got rid of the factory bumper. So welded that on. I'm gonna come in here with some plates and run down and cap the bumper. I'm probably going to gusset plate on top and bottom, and I think I'm going to cut a hole out of it and put a receiver tube in it. I'm not sure yet. It's getting down to the wire. I'm leaving tomorrow night to head towards Tennessee. So that's where we're at. A couple more small things to do. We'll get me a recovery point on the rear, and I don't know if I can find me some screws. I'll bolt the grill back in it. So with the grill in it, it covers up quite a bit of the winch, and I can still get in there to release it for free spool. But anyway, that's where we're at. So once we get to wherever our destination is, then start the fun part then. Anyway, I'm excited. A lot of the guys are still steadily thrashing. They're probably not even quite as far as I am, but it's gonna be a good time.